Today's documents that we read were over right before the Civil War happened and like the politics that were involved right preceding the Civil War. And particularly one of the documents we read focused on the Lincoln Douglas debates. And these were presidential debates, like the ones we see today where, they would, debate against each other. And in this debate, we sort of saw Lincoln's beliefs on equality and how they sort of don't line up with how we think Lincoln believes in our current context. Because for many of us, Lincoln is this figure who, he freed the slaves. It was all about equality and like bringing about, egalitarianism, to black people. But as much as we think that, that's really not the case of who Lincoln actually was. And if we delve into like what he's written and a lot of the speeches he's given, he makes pretty clear statements that he's not for equality. In the assessment or the document that we read for your class today, we see that he says that he's not for equality, that he's not even for abolition of slaves in the South. He just wants to stop the spread of it west. So we can tell that this isn't his main focus. In this quote right here, we see that it was from one of his speeches. Lincoln says, "I am not nor ever have been in favor of bringing about in any way the social and political equality of the white and black races. That I am not nor ever have been in favor of making voters or jurors of Negroes, nor of qualifying them to hold office, nor to intermarry with white people. And I will say in addition to this that there is a physical difference between the white and black races, which I believe will forever forbid the two races living together on terms of social and political equality. I will add to this that I have never seen, to my knowledge, a man, woman, or child who was in favor of producing a perfect equality, social and political, between Negroes and white men." This is pretty explicit in how Lincoln believes that equality is not something he believes in, and maybe he does believe at least in abolition, but definitely not in equality. And that goes directly against like our modern thinking of Lincoln. And it goes to show how a lot of times we do this hero worship of, historical figures in the past, especially of Lincoln. And because of this, we get these untrue notions of people in the past, and we distort really what actually happened to fit narratives of ours. And that's something we see political parties do a lot today. In this image right here, we see a statue of Lincoln, and we see this, this sign promoting this idea of gay marriage. And not to make any commentary about that debate, but what the person who put this sign is saying, that Lincoln, because he was all for equality and egalitarianism, would also be for this. And since we don't want to like violate the legacy of Lincoln, we should make this a thing. And that's just sort of a bad argument, because that's not who Lincoln was. That's not what he believed. But because of how we framed Lincoln and the way we distort history to fit our narratives, that's the argument that's made. And we see that with literally every political party. The right does it with a lot of their arguments. The evangelicals do that with their arguments. The left does that with their arguments. It's just really bad history, and people abuse the history to fit their narratives. And we need to be cautious of that. And as good students of history, we need to do everything we can to combat people who distort history to fit narratives. So that was just a little bit about Lincoln and his views on equality. Thank you so much for listening.